you found the doctrines of Christianity incomprehensible and absurd, yeah? Do you still have the same position?
Han Meditations. Hello guys, I am Han. This is my wife Kelly. We're back with another video. So this video says Jesus cannot be God. Let's just see what he has to say, if he's going to justify it. And, you know, we'll be open and honest and talk about it. So let's go ahead and watch it.
I've read all your books, and I even read some of your peer-reviewed work, because when I was going to speak to you, then I said, you know what, I'm going to do my homework. Yeah. So I read everything. One of the things that you said one time in the Maps of Meaning, you started off the book by saying, when you were a young lad, I don't know how young you were, you said that you found the doctrines of Christianity incomprehensible and absurd, yeah? And you also said that you found you had some kind of issue with Christianity because of the Genesis narrative and how incongruent it was with scientific narratives. You went to a pastor, you said, or a church cleric or something, and then you left the church. Now, I've got a question. Do you still have the same position, or have you changed your position?
Well, I've changed my position a lot. I was only 13 then, you know, and I was caught up in the battle, you know, insofar it was manifested in me when I was 13. I was caught in the battle between Enlightenment rationality and traditional narrative belief. I had no idea how to reconcile those two things.
Do you feel like you can do that now?
I'm doing my best to reconcile.
So let me be more
and I think, well, I certainly can do it a lot more than I did when I was 13.
Let me give you an example, right? This point, when you were 13, I think you were thinking straight. I'm sorry to be very straight.
It's hard to believe that someone is disagreeable with you as you would manage that.
Because someone with an IQ of 180 or whatever you have, someone of your intelligence. When you were 13, you probably had an IQ of, I don't know, 120 or something, yeah? So you were operating like my friend over here, Ali Dawa, so it's on his level, at the age of 13. But what I was going to say was that, you know, the reason why I think he was, because look at the Trinity, for example. Look at the schisms. Now, this goes to your specialism. The idea of three all-powerful entities, that Jesus is all-powerful, that the Father is all-powerful, the Son is all-powerful, and the Holy Spirit is all-powerful, but there's not three all-powerfuls, there's one all-powerful. You have one ultimately willing being, or person, which is Jesus, and then another person, which is ultimately willing, which is the Son. The Quran says about this, it says, مَا اتَّخَذَ اللَّهُ مِنْ وَلَدٍ وَمَا كَانَ مَعَهُ مِنْ إِلَهٍ إِذًا لَذَهَبَ كُلُّ إِلَهٍ بِمَا خَلَقَ وَلَعَلَ بَعْضُهُمْ عَلَى بَعْضٍ. In chapter 23, verse number 91, it says that Allah has not taken any son, and he did not have any creator with him. Had that been the case, they would have stripped one another for what they would have competed and tried to outstrip one another for power. Meaning this idea of three all-powerful persons is unintelligible, to say the least. The idea that Jesus Christ exhibits two natures. I know that there are schisms and there's differences of opinion among Christians, but the fact that you have this human nature where Jesus is walking and he sees the tree and he can't eat from the tree, he doesn't know that the tree is in season or not, or that he doesn't know when the hour is, or whatever it may be. The Quran says it very clearly. كَانَا يَأْكُلَانِ الطَّعَامِ. Him and his mom used to eat food. This proposition that they're limited and unlimited at the same time is it's a contradiction. It's an affront to logic. This will cause you cognitive dissonance. Because if you want to be a rational actor, and you want to be...
See, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a rational actor.
But you do when you do your scientific experiments.
That's true.
So why'd you separate the two things?
Because rationality should be subordinated to something above it. And I'm trying to subordinate myself to that. So my reaction to what you're saying is that this isn't an insult.
Yeah,
I'm telling you what my reaction is.
Please say
it's not even a criticism.
Of course.
I find that discussion, as soon as it started, I found that less interesting than what we were doing before. It was harder for me to focus on. And I think the reason for that is that it transforms to some, and I'm not saying this isn't necessary at sometimes, but it transforms the transcendent into something like an intellectual and propositional discussion. And so in some sense, we're debating perhaps not the fine points of theology, because they're more like the blunt points of theology.
I understand.
But there's something about that that isn't what I want to do with you.
Yes.
You know, and it isn't that it's not necessary. So let me flip it around to some degree. So one of the things I'm very curious about is, obviously, the figure of Christ is contentious.
Yes.
And so the Jews don't know what to make of Christ
Yes.
in some fundamental sense, because he seems like a continuation of the prophetic tradition in some real sense, plus he was Jewish, so that makes things complicated. And then, of course, the Christians put the figure of Christ as central in some real sense, but that begs the question of the relationship between Christ and God. And then in the Muslim community, Christ is also a central figure. And so I'm curious about that, and we could say we have doctrinal differences about what constitutes that centrality. It's like, fair enough, and I would also not say that I understand what that centrality means. Like, so one of the ways I would understand that, let's say, is that in the Western tradition, and I don't know to what degree this is true in the Muslim tradition, one of the attributes of what Christ is psychologically is the logos. And so if we're engaged in dialogue, which is dual logos, then we're embodying the spirit of something like mutual enlightenment. And that's then the presence of that spirit in the genuine confines of temporal reality, right? It's something like the infinite descending to the finite to illuminate us. And to the degree that we can have a dialogue in good faith, which is also a religious notion, then we can engage in that process of dialogos, and that transforms and redeems us. And then when I say, well, do I believe that? I say, well, it isn't just that I believe it as a proposition, it's that I can tell when it's happening. And so can you, I think. It's like, you're going to see that this conversation will ebb and flow, and some of the time it's going to grip you. You think, we're at the heart of the matter, and sometimes your attention's going to wander. And your attention's going to wander when we're off the path. And so I would say that to the degree that you and I are communicating, this is a religious way of thinking about it, is that we're doing our best to embody the spirit of the Logos. And if that's working, then we're making progress. And I know that in the Western tradition, that's part of what has been conceptualized as the fundamental attribute of the figure of Christ. And I know that Christ is central in the Muslim tradition. And so one of the things I would want to know is not how we differ doctrinally, because I don't even think I'm qualified to debate you on that case.
We've got the guy here.
Well, Jonathan might have some things to say, but what I would like to know instead is, why do you believe that the figure of Christ is central in some sense, or maybe I've got that wrong, although I don't think so. Why do you think the figure of Christ is central both to the Muslim faith and the Christian faith? And what do you think that says about what we share in common? Because I really don't understand that. It's a mystery to me.
Okay, so Jesus Christ, if secular historians will look at him and differ on his existence or not. The majority, to be fair, do believe he existed, right? Even secular historians, atheists and agnostics and whatever it may be, right?
It's the simplest explanation.
Yeah, it's a simple, of course, yeah. So I believe that, first of all, Jesus Christ existed, which in the modern age is worth noting, right? Muslims are the only other major world religion who believe in Jesus Christ as the Messiah, as the prophet.
Right,
he had the virgin
and
birth.
this is a strange thing, so we should definitely be trying to sort that out.
Oh, well, we have to watch that full interview because it just cut out, and I was like, dang, I want to keep going. Because that is an interesting thing.
I thought they were just getting into it.
I know. I was like sucked into that. Maybe we should react to that whole thing, Kelly, because I was sucked into it from the start, from the finish. And they were both saying very interesting things. And I was interested to really see them dive deep into that, because he even said, you can't be limited and unlimited. And my personal belief is that's not true. I do believe that you can be limited and unlimited. Because let's just say, for instance, God wanted to experience what it would be like to be a human. So you're going to tell me that the unlimited God, Allah, cannot limit himself in a human form to experience what that would be like to be human? Because from my experience, that is what it is like to be a human. We're experiencing what it's like to be limited as an unlimited being. Because I feel like we are a part of God in our true sense, in our true nature. That's what I truly believe.
I mean, if you think about it, all of us beings were created to have certain limits and certain unlimitations. You know what I mean? Like, even if you look at angels, in a way, they are limited to only being able to obey God. You know what I mean? They don't have that free will like we do. You know what I mean? but in a way
I know
they're
what you
also
mean.
unlimited by how close they are to God. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's
I know what you
paradoxical a
mean.
bit.
Because whenever you really get into it, it's like, if you're saying that God cannot be limited, then you're saying that God is limited. And if you're saying that God is only unlimited, then God is limited. So whenever you get to the highest levels, everything becomes paradoxical. So you can't just sit there and put limits on God and what God could be and all this stuff. Everything has to be possible, because you can't put a limit on God. It's just not possible. You can't do that. That's whenever it's not for our human minds to truly comprehend and think about. So that's what's interesting to me. And that is what I love about these kind of conversations. And we're definitely going to get into more and watch more of this video. So I can't wait to watch more of this, because that just blows my mind how interesting it is.
Yeah, I didn't know these two had interviewed together before. So that was fun to watch. And yeah, I thought they were just getting into the conversation. I'm like, oh, it's done. I want to watch more.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to watch that. That is adding on our list, and we'll check it out. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing, liking the video. That's all you need to do. But thank you to the people who've been donating. We see every single one, guys.
Thank you.
We appreciate it so much. $1, 1 cent. It doesn't matter how much. We just appreciate it, because it lets us know that we're on the right path, just discovering different religions, learning about it, and really trying to teach people through the guise of the videos that we watch. So we watch people who are more expertise in certain subjects, so people can learn in that way, in that sense. So thank you guys for being here. We love you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next video.